it's Carolina with alwaysexpectmore.com, and today I'm talking about the basic technique for English paper piecing that I use in my book, Learn How to English Paper Piece. So today we're showing you how to make the hexagons for a fun pillow like this, which is the first project in the book and the project on the cover of the book. I'm going to show you step by step how to use the tools that are in the starter kit that Nancy's Notions has put together, or you can purchase these tools individually, or if you have them around your sewing room, to learn how to English paper piece. There's another video that I have that'll show you all 10 projects in the books: quilt, pillow, bags, placemats, coasters. There's all kinds of fun projects that you can make when you learn how to English paper piece. We're going to use the instructions from the book Learn How to English Paper Piece, which I wrote for Nancy's Notions, and we're using the starter set that you can purchase that can come with this book. And we're going to talk about the basics of how to put together some hexagons based on the instructions in this book. So you're going to start with, these are 1.5 inch hexagon pieces. So you can see here are 1 inch pieces. They're a little bit smaller. And these ones are my 1.5 inch. I love the 1.5 inch for beginners. It helps you really feel like you've made some progress a lot quicker than with the smaller 1 inch pieces. You're going to take your fabric and you want to cut larger than your English paper piece. Now, some people will say 1/4 inch. I say that 3/8 of an inch is best, and you can either eyeball that or you can actually take a ruler and draw all the way around. I'm just going to eyeball that real quick, and I'm using a bright red pen here so that you can exactly see the lines that I'm making. If you're going to be doing a lot of English paper piecing and cutting out a lot of pieces, it can help to get a template. You can either make one out of cardboard or you can purchase a template that will be the right size for your English paper piecing. So here you go. I've just drawn about a 3/8 inch seam allowance all the way around. And then using the scissors that come in the kit, I'm just going to cut those out. That's very simple. You can cut all of your pieces first and then go on to the next step, which is basting. When I first learned to English paper piece, I did my basting using thread. So I thread basted all of my pieces, and that can take a little longer. It takes longer, and it's actually not quite as accurate as glue basting, which is what we're going to do today. If you got the starter pack, it has a sew line glue pen. The glue pen already has been filled with a glue stick, and when it runs out, you use the same glue pen and you just use refills. So you don't need to purchase more and more of these glue pens unless you like having one in your purse and one in your car and one in your sewing room like I do. But otherwise you can just have the one glue pen, and then in the package there already is a refill right in there that allows you to refill, and then you just purchase more of these refills as you need. To baste your hexagon, what you do is you grab your paper and you put it on the fabric and you just center that. Then you take your glue pen. I like to make sure that the lid's on the back so I can find that lid later. And you're going to put glue on opposite sides. So I'm going to start on this side. And then I put a little bit of glue on the fabric and a little bit glue on the fabric. Some people don't do this, but I find that you get a lot sharper corners when you do this. And then you're just folding it over the edge. You're not trying to pull it. You're not adding extra tension. You just want a good even tension across the fabric. We're going to do the same on this other side. And you're not yanking or pulling. You're just kind of rolling it over and giving it a little bit of tension. You want it to not be loose, but you definitely don't want it tight. You just want it snug. Now that I've done opposite sides, then I can do the other two sides on each side and I'll be done with my basting. Now the reason I do opposite sides is it gives me even tension across the fabric, and it keeps the fabric straight. It keeps it true. If I were to start on one side and go all the way around, my fabric will actually twist a little bit, which is what would traditionally happen with thread basting and is unavoidable with thread basting. But with glue basting, we don't have to baste with glue the way we would baste with thread. We baste with glue because we're using glue. And so there's all kinds of benefits to that. And one is that we don't have that twisting of basting in a circle. So now I have all of my sides basted and it's secure. Now, questions that I get about glue basting all the time are, well, first, do those papers stay in there forever? And the answer is no. The papers will come out once it's been surrounded on all sides. You can take a paper out. You don't have to take it out until you're done with a project, but you can take it out once it's been surrounded on all sides with a piece. And the next question that I get is, well, you've glued it in, isn't it in there forever? And the answer is no. This is a hexagon that has been glued for almost a year. And it's really simple. Whether you glued it yesterday or whether you glued it almost a year ago, the papers really do just pop right out. And it doesn't matter how long that they've been in there. They'll just easily just peel right out. And all you'll do is you'll peel off all the sides. And this is obviously after you've had pieces stitched to all the edges. And you can just gently with your fingers pull out your hexagon and then your shape would remain. So those are the questions that I often get about glue basting. Once you've basted, you can just grab your hexagons and you can kind of decide on a pattern if you want. You can lay things out, and I like to, if I've done a layout that I like to take a photo with my phone so that I have that layout. But for this, I'm just gonna go scrappy. So I'm gonna take my needle. The kind of needle you use is really up to you. You want something that's thin and you want something that's comfortable for you. A lot of people use betweens or milliners. You also don't want too long a piece of thread. It goes through a lot of wear and tear as it goes up against the card, the paper of the English paper piecing. So you don't need something too long. It'll wear your thread and it'll snap eventually over time. Although I am using, this is the wonderful 100-weight thread that came in the beginner's kit, and I love this. It is polyester, but it's a cottonized polyester, so it doesn't have that slick that a polyester has. It actually has some grip to it, some texture, like you would expect with a cotton. And it is super, super strong and super, super thin. It's like quilting with a hair. So we're going to take two of our pieces and we're going to put them right sides together. I'm going to go ahead and put my thimble on. So once you have your two pieces right side together, we're going to take our needle and thread it up through the seam allowance. There we go. And then we're going to do 3 stitches in place right here on the end. Some people like to use a knot, and I am not one of those people. The reason I like 3 stitches in place is because if you're doing 3 stitches in place, you will always get a knot eventually somehow. They do end up twisting and kind of creating a knot in there just magically. So you'll get that cross of a knot anyway. 3 stitches in place also gives some security to these corners, and that's always the spots where you're going to have the most stress on English paper piecing. It's harder to mess up 3 stitches in place. A knot can be slippery or loose, and also a knot is one point of security. It's just one spot, and if the thread breaks at that knot, you've lost all of your points of security. So that's why I like to do 3 stitches in place. So once we've done that, we're just going to stitch along the edge. You want to go along the edge of the card. You're actually not going into the paper in any way. And you're just stitching right along the edge. Just taking your needle, running it right across the edge. And you'll feel the paper in there. And you want to just go next to the paper. And you're just grabbing 2 or 3 threads of the fabric on either side. It doesn't take a whole lot. And my stitches are somewhere between a 1/16 and an 1/8 of an inch as I go across. Once you get to the other side, just 3 stitches in place again. That will secure this corner, this edge, and keep everything secure. There we go. Now, if you are finishing here and ending your thread, you just take it and you bury it in the seam allowance and pull your needle up, and then you can clip your thread right there. But I'm continuing on, so I don't need to do that. I'm going to open up, and I want to add another hexagon right here. So I'll add this tulip, and all I do is I say, okay, I'd like it there, flip those right sides together, line up my edges, and then continue on. So start with 3 stitches in place and then stitch across. Once you've gone to the end and done your 3 stitches in place, you just bury your thread in that seam allowance, pull it up, and you clip off your excess. So now we have our hexagons 3 together, and this right here where we have 3 seams coming together, that's called a Y seam because it's shaped like the letter Y. It's also known as an inset seam, and some people think it's pretty scary. But honestly, it's not scary, especially in English paper piecing, because English paper piecing is really just perfectly designed for this. You don't have to worry. We're just going to take these 2 flappy edges, put them right sides together, and we're just going to stitch it just like it's a normal seam. It's not a big deal at all. Bringing my thread up from the back. Right sides together, and these papers just bend super easy. Now if you're having trouble with this popping open and it's putting stress on your hand, then just crease it. It's not a big deal at all. The crease papers might be harder to use in the future because these papers are reusable, and the really creased papers might not be as simple to reuse, but they're just papers, and all we have to do is buy some new ones. They're really not expensive, and they come in giant packs of 100. So I have no problem tossing a paper here or there if I wanted to crease it to be able to make it easier for my hands as I'm sewing. So all we do is just 3 stitches in place. 1, 2, 3 to start our seam. And then just like all the other seams, we just stitch along the edge. And at the end, we just do 3 stitches in place. That's become a habit for us now, right? At the beginning and the end, just 3 stitches in place. And you can open it up, and I don't need to bury the thread because I can just add another piece right here, like this one, and just put it right sides together and keep sewing. So that's how easy it is to English paper piece hexagons. Make sure that you give this video a thumbs up. Subscribe if you haven't already, and if you have any questions or comments, go ahead and leave those down below. I do look for those comments and I love to respond. So go ahead and leave your comments about English paper piecing or the book or any questions that you might have. Thanks so much for watching, and I hope you have a lovely day.